Everybody, Texas Stroker here, Lance's Performance Shop, Lone Star, Mopars.com. It's Thursday night, 8:51 p.m. Funny story, if you hear background noise, it would be the wind. It was literally 80 degrees today, and the front hit about 30 minutes ago, and we're dropping down into the 50s tomorrow. Chance of a freeze coming up, I believe, Friday night into Saturday morning. So that would be the background on noise you hear there. But a couple of things to note. Number one, this looks impressive, right? Typically, we've got the Mopar work mat down. Planned to do that. I was just cleaning the table up, and what I used to clean it with was just this rag that I'd had residual Ballistol on, right, from trying to clean up that NWS knife, testing some other things. And I just went ahead and wiped it down, didn't add any, but that put a really nice look, I thought, to the workbench here, so I figured we'd run with it. Now, something I want to do is I'm going to take this same cloth and we're going to tilt her back over that way, right? And so what we're going to do, we're going to try to zoom in, kind of see some of the mess over there, but that area there just had flash rust. I think that's where long ago I had sat a bottle of water or something. Nothing major. I've done nothing to prep it. I am not adding any Ballistol to this thing. I'm just going to come in and I kind of want to see if we can clean this, because this video is kind of a train wreck. We're having to redo it, and why not? So, not adding anything to it, just again Ballistol from the last couple of nights and everything. I'm not going to invest a ton of time, but you be the judge. Let me flip my viewfinder back. And I think it did a pretty decent job for zero effort, and we're going to call that good. So we're spinning back around over here, and we're going to tilt down, get it where we need to be. Now, what else is going on that's so crazy? Well, a couple of the other videos, I'm not sure how I'm going to release them, but I had a file corrupt, and somewhere between the SD card, the external, and me rendering them, turns out I lost some footage. Some of the footage I lost was unfortunately this entire tool haul. And so this has already been done on my part. Any original packaging or anything I don't have anymore. And then the other downside, of course, is just the time. I could be doing something else with this time, but instead we're recreating this. I'm trying to get it done and behind me. And I want to hit on a couple of things. Number one, we're not going to have the Wera flyer, which it would have expired 3/31 anyway. We will have the bit of thanks. It's right here, not in its packaging, but we're going to need that shortly. We did get the German sticker pack, which KC Tool, if you exceed $100 threshold, you will get the German sticker tool pack. Going along with what else is not pictured, and to be fair, this one was not shown in the original tool haul that I lost, but the Wera Kraftform Compact, their 25-piece screwdriver set, that got in. I gave it to my nephew for his birthday. Ultimately went that route just because it used standard bits. He kind of prefers green over red, and I thought it kind of seemed like it might have more of like a wow factor than the Ultra driver or the 13-in-1. Although I don't necessarily think it's the best multi-bit driver out there, but for him and his birthday, I kind of thought it was the way to go, so we did. And on that note, I think we're ready to jump into this. So where I'm going to begin, it's important that I tell you this. This is the, I believe, second time you're going to see the Felo tack claw here. And it will fit, not in the KC Tool screwdriver strand, but you know those VHA ones I brought in that hold like the 8-inch screwdrivers? It will fit, forked tongue and everything, through those. Now what this is, again, it's the tack claw. It's Felo's part number 494. You can also find it F24022 on KC Tool. Standard price is going to be $675. This is the one I'm keeping. This is the one you've seen or will see in, I think, clips of the Ballistol video if it survived. But, long story short, when I brought the first one in, my mother said it reminded her of her weed pulling tool that she had lost, and so I just ordered this one in for me, gave her that first one, and the rest is history. But essentially the weed pulling tool, which works really well, I think it's probably a 6-inch shaft. You can get by with the 4-inch, kind of depends what you're doing. It's like a garden bed. You know, you got flower bed you typically plant every year type of a thing. It's not going to be an issue if it's something that you're just going out and, you know, in virgin soil, kind of till it up type of a deal. Might want the 6-inch, but that's kind of where that one went. And what I want to showcase, though, it works great for that. I brought it in for a pry bar primarily, and not for tacks that it's intended for. But I took apart, you know, a couple of small blower motors for heater, you know, like a heat fan in your bathroom type of a deal, and trying to get the stator apart. It was a situation. I kind of think this would work well, so the next one I do, I'm going to try it out there. But if you didn't know why it's called a tack claw, well, this is one of the reasons. You can use it for multiple things, but if you've got the old school tacks, you know, that had like the big ends that come out and they're easy to grab and insert, they don't look streamlined, they're not flush. But with this one, I can come in right here and see how easy that was. Well, I guess you didn't see it, so I'll do another one. And you could probably magnetize this. Maybe we'll play with that. I don't have this backed out all the way, that's why you couldn't see it. Okay, so now you can see. I'm going to come in. This one's really up against it. And so we just come in and we lift it up. And you're home free. You've got your tack out. This works great for bulletin boards. Maybe you got like a to-do list for your kids. Maybe you got something ancient in your shop. And you pin ribbons from car shows or pictures or to-do lists or what you're trying to get done to it. This is just added content since this is the second time I'm having to make this thing. So what I want to try, this kind of hung up, and you know, I was thinking, you know, you could probably magnetize it. It's actually picking it up decent, you know, but we've got the good old, now they've updated this one to black, the VHA magnetizer, demagnetizer. I spoke a lot on the funky seafoam green color of it, but truth be told, I kind of liked it like this, just because it looks like something you'd gotten from your grandparents' house, essentially. But let's just go ahead. I can't think of a downfall of this being magnetized at this point in time. And yeah, that makes a big difference. So if you're going to be doing a lot of stuff with tacks, maybe you're like, I don't know, you work in advertising, or you're reconstructing billboards, corkboard type stuff. I don't know. If you're into it, you'll know what it is. This is actually a really good tool. Also neat on it, the red acetate handle. I really dig that. It looks old as well. Kind of looks like it and this magnetizer would be some from the same era, if you will, right? It's got the hanging hole. Again, you can see there part number 494. They're about the only German tool company that makes this that I'm aware of. It's actually really hard to find these. Typically people that have them have modified a flat blade or it like chipped and they just cut it back type of a deal. But I actually really like them. I'm surprised that they're still made, but I'm not going to argue with it. As always, links and timestamps down below. Let's get the nasty tacks out of here. And what we're going to do now is stick with Felo. There's like two of you that always say, hey, you need to get a Felo T-handle, you not have their switcheroo. So if you recall, long ago I brought this sucker in, and it looks like, you know, kind of an ergonomic style handle, and then you see that and you're like, what? If you've forgotten about this, essentially there's all sorts of blades. This is, I think, what they call their smart handle, and of course the blades would come in and probably be the equivalent to what you see on that tack claw, and you can create a screwdriver, and then you just carry the blades. It's sort of like VHA's drive lock or something. The catch is, with this handle, you kick out, and you can use it then as a T-handle, right? Pretty useful. They've got a lot of attachments. I never dreamed I wouldn't have them by now. It's, as many tool hauls as we do, I am not necessarily cheap, but thrifty. You know, I kind of wait for sales and good buys and everything like that. It makes my dollar go farther. And so subsequently, I will eventually pick one of those kits up, but until then, that does sort of work with the standard bit like you see there, but not really well. It's a little too deep. It's kind of intended for their special bits, but it is a pretty cool setup. Again, Felo's smart handle. But something that I didn't have, and this was, I think, on sale in the first quarter at a price where I was bringing other things in, it kind of was like, ooh, I think we're gonna do that. And so what this is Felo's part number, let me lean over here, 62839, or you can also use F62899 on KC Tool. Set me back all of $10.31. We're gonna drop it in. If you're a fan of red and black, you're gonna be happy. Not sure how well you can see that just yet, but boom, secret's out of the bag. This is Felo's T-handle. This is a straight up fixed 1/4-inch drive T-handle. Nothing crazy. You can see there again, 125 millimeters, so it's 5 inches overall, kind of in length. It does have the hanging hole, and again, 1/4 inch drive. It does have the ball detent there. So I've got a host of different sockets here, and we're going to use these multiple times today, so we'll just leave them on the bench. This is a old 6.9/16 Craftsman. How old is it? Made in America old. And pretty solid fitment there, nothing I would complain about. This is a great way to kind of showcase sort of traditional American style chrome versus the matte chrome. Personally, I kind of like the matte chrome, but you know, to each their own. Sockets is one of the instances I don't really mind their traditional chrome, probably just because that's what I'm accustomed to having. Since we have it here, I've got a deep 10 millimeter. I'll go ahead and throw that on. That fits extremely well. There's like almost no play with that one at all. Then right here, I think I grabbed a Craftsman extension. Yeah, so if we were going like deep, this is something we could use. Again, really solid fitment there. And last but not least, I've got this long Wera locking extension. And so we're going to line it up, throw it on. That by far has the most play. I can't remember. I think this might have been a wobble though, so it's to be expected. That's what we would want in that case. And then I had to go grab these off of a fuse box in the truck. That's where I last had them Sunday night. Let's just grab the 3/8 if it wants to come off. This is Wera's Take It Easy tool finder set, right? Little 1/4 inch drive ones. These are made in the Czech Republic. They're not the Taiwanese ones. Again, pretty. I gotta say the Craftsman stuff fits the Felo T-handle significantly better than the Wera socket, but zero issues with either one. And if you're wondering why on earth I picked this up, well, at work, geez, probably like previous 2 to 5 weeks, you know, I had to do a crud ton of motors, and when they come in, I have to unpallet them, essentially break all that down, whether it's a crate or a box or just the pallet. Then I have to lift them up, I have to install the lift hook on the other side, and then a lot of the times what they send is just a hex plug, right? Essentially the one side that faces down, they're vertical motors, so when they ship they're horizontal, unless they're in the vertical crate, which only 3 have ever been. Mind-boggling. So anyway, what happens, you get those little like Allen cap screws that just thread in a plug, right? And I typically turn them with an L key, and this last time, I mean, it was a dedicated truck, and so there was a crud ton of them, and I was like, screw that. So I went and I got a T-handle hex key. And I loved it. I'm never going back to just using the L key in that case, because you got to keep in mind, I mean, I've got the motor dangling by one lift hook up here with both provisions from the hook, and then I come in kind of underneath it, start threading that in, and then when I spin it, I'll typically spin like this, because it's fast, and then when I want to tighten it down, that T-handle is super nice. And so that got me thinking about T-handles around the time I was placing this order. So I brought this sucker in, something that I'm looking forward to doing with this, and the 1/4 should be sufficient. All the old Mopars have deep valve covers. Let me see here. This isn't the best example because it's a little overkill. Since it's here at the bench and we're having to redo this video, I'm trying to add some bonus content. So this is a Indy, the other side. I don't know why Indy does this, but this is one of their valve covers. The other side, which is the driver's side, actually has their logo here with the valve stem and everything for it's a really cool logo. So this is the passenger side. This is a cast aluminum valve cover for a 440, right? And so if you see right here, this is pretty deep. Like my fingers, I've got fairly big hands, therefore big fingers. We drop that down, I mean, I'm to the pivot point, right? So when you come in, if we just had, say, this standard deep socket, okay, do you see the issue there? Let me tilt this back so you can kind of pick up on it. At that point, this isn't going to happen. I don't care what ratchet you have. You need another, solid inch right there. So in order to use a 1/4 drive ratchet, which I would typically use 3/8, but that's beside the point, we would have to have an extension so the socket then can actually get down in there. Note that, I mean, that just swallows that socket up, by the way. What I was hoping I could do with this, and I can, thanks to the 125 or 5-inch length right there. You can see that 1/4 head disappear in the bolt hole, but if I put it on the landing, see how I've got that extra space there, the difference between the socket and the T-handle? Oh yeah, that's gonna be real nice. And so what that will allow me to do is come in, tighten everything down, and it's just gonna be beautiful. So again, not only on a 440, but also, you know, the 360 and the Duster, the truck. I don't know why Magnum valve covers are so expensive. An LA-based engine, you're gonna have 5 bolts. One of the big improvements to a Magnum head, aside from any flow characteristics, is simply the fact they went to a 10-bolt valve cover. If you've ever had a small block Mopar, it probably leaked oil. And if you were working with somebody's silicone job, you know, and you didn't have fresh machine surfaces and clean it up real good, or you had a kind of cheap valve cover, it was a nightmare to keep from leaking, and that's because in part they just had the 5 bolts on the small block. So the Magnum valve covers upgraded that, took care of it conceivably with the 10 bolts. I've been trying to find a set of the Mopar performance ones for the truck, and you kind of have to go to eBay, which is unfortunate. But check this out though. That's why you buy used race parts right there. You think this guy used any silicone? The answer is no. He threw that on with a gasket. The way it ought to be. You want a silicone? You want to come in and you just want to clean up your surfaces right there. That's one of those things when you hang out with old mechanical engineers and you machine stuff when you're in high school. You get cocky and you just look at silicone as like a way to half-ass stuff, and that's not cool. Sometimes you got to do it, you know. Sometimes there's no way around it. A lot of times just it's designed for use with an RTV type of a thing, but typically if you've got 2 machine surfaces, you can get by. So as long as it's good machine work. All that aside, that's where I kind of envision that sucker. The handle is super nice too. Again, the only thing that would be better is if I could get a different color scheme, but the red and black, not terrible. That ties in with our other Felo stuff, at least here on the bench. So I'm a happy man in that regard. Now, moving on. We're going to enter a new territory here in this portion of the tool haul. Not the tool of the day, which, yes, that's why we placed the order. That'll be last because it did ship separately. I requested KC Tools ship this ahead of time so I'd have a screwdriver set to give my nephew. They did. It was awesome. Got it here just in time. But kind of had to wait on this other stuff. Now, what I have here is going to be from Wera. Since we just talked about them, we'll go with theirs first. It's their part number 028160. You're probably not familiar with it. The price point $23.31. And as I drop her down, you're like, oh, seriously, another screwdriver? Why? What's the point? When is the testing going to start? Well, there's something special about this one. This is Wera's flexible bit holder, right? And so, just like we brought in from Rehash and Felo, we've got their flexible bit holders. We now have this one in play as well. It's kind of got a deviated design. This section here, the flexible tube and the collar, looks real similar to everything else we've had. Again, standalone video incoming. But where this one's really sets itself apart is right there. The way this one goes in is it's actually with that sort of rapid adapter style. It's got some pretty cool knurling on it, I gotta say. It looks aggressive in your hand. It's not really super noticeable, so that'll either be a plus or a minus depending on what you prefer. That said, our bit of thing is direct from Wera, so I should have an upper hand in this competition. Note you can't seat that, so we have to come in, we have to come up, it pulls down, it locks in place. That is a very solid lock. And testing point, which is even more fun with a flexible bit shaft. Yeah, it's not going anywhere. That's what we can deduce from that. So, the money shot here, how flexible is it? Pretty good. Again, you're not going to, go off at 90 degrees or anything crazy, but it's got some flex to her. Case in point, we get there, we're still able to turn, go to town. How do we remove the bit? Press up, pull out. I do believe, I don't know how you're going to see it, but you know what a magnet looks like, and that thing shining at you? That is, I believe, a magnet. So it's sort of like, in fact, if I shut up, let's see if you can hear this. You ready? Listen close. It's a magnet. And then it also locks in with the collar. So it's kind of a two-fold lock there. I don't want to go into too much detail, so we can keep this one short, and because we will have a standalone on all of our flexible bit drivers. Now, if you're sitting there and you're thinking, okay, so I remember you had the You had the Felo, you had the Viha, you got Wera. Had it on your mind, did you bring another one in? The answer is yes. Enter Stahlwille, part number 12504. As you would expect, this one going to be a little bit more expensive. It tips the scales at $32.96. It's got the classic Stahlwille handle. Again, I kind of like their 3K. It's a shame they don't offer that on more products. I've kind of grown to like this one the more I use it. Case in point, not necessarily on a screwdriver, but I was using that lever bar, which I think... that might be in a tool haul after this one. I can't honestly remember. If it is, you don't know anything about it. But if it was prior to this one, then you've seen it. Either way, I'm using the snot out of it as we speak, trying to get all the plastic trim and stuff off the truck. So that was a good investment. It was a little bigger. Then on my pick, it's a little bit smaller. I've been making a little bit of use out of that guy as well. But right there on the back side, where they typically have kind of what the tool is, I'm going to see if I can position my hand where you can see this. We're going to have to, let's zoom in a bit. Alright, so one of the things I love about what Stahlwille does, if this doesn't have like the indicator, so let's get dicey here. Let's see if she stays focused. This is the number 2 Phillips, which you can actually see. It's the dustiest handle I've ever had from Stahlwille. I've gotten multiple tools with this handle style. None of them have been that dusty. Not quite sure what the deal is. I guess they'll get that way. But this has, if you can tell, that's a hex shape with a quarter. That would indicate it's their quarter bit driver. And then the part number, 12504. And it also has sort of a, looks like a smiley face circle. You'll notice not present here. But there's an arrow tip on this side. I guess that's how they're kind of trying to indicate that it's flexible. Now, the thing that's really different with this one, we've got made in Germany here. And if you're thinking, that's a lot of real estate. Well, compare the shiny silver section from the Stahlwille to that of the Wera, and that's a whole lot of space. Now, if you're using and abusing these, common sense would dictate this is going to flex more because this is limited. Common sense would also dictate that this would probably be more durable while not being as flexible. Again, we're not going to go into too many details, but that's a glaring difference between these two. Right here, speaking of glaring differences, I do not see a magnet in this one, but you do see kind of the positive clip retainer type of a thing, right? So we're going to come in. We've got the Wera bits. I don't believe I own the Stahlwille bits for whatever that may be worth. And we got to line this sucker up and press it in. So right here, pretty difficult to get out. And you gotta, it's not as easy to load up as the Wera one was, but you get it in position if we can, and then you just push. You kind of get your lucky spot. I'm trying to keep it straight there. Once it starts to seat, then you just push in. You hear that positive click. Does it go anywhere? Let's find out. No. Did it look like that bent as much to you as the Wera? It didn't from my angle, and I think you can kind of figure out from that what you will. But it is a pretty cool little setup here, again, if you're in the market for a flexible bit driver. Depending on the flex and the price points, you've got some options. We will have a standalone video on this coming up soon. Let's actually flip that. There we go. Now I got the Stahlwille for you OCD people that'll be looking at that. We've got Stahlwille, and we've got made in Germany. Face up. So, we are now ready to move on to the final item, our tool of the day. This one had to ship separate because it sold out. This was kind of before the world went crazy in a lockdown mode, you know. It's an interesting note today. The same thing in 3/8 was available as tool of the day, and luckily this is still in its original packaging, which is, I gotta say, kind of cool, just because it's unique. Price point, if you want this today, since it is not on tool of the day pricing anymore, $44.58 tool of the day. I want to say this was like around $25. It comes from Heyco. It is their part number 0250-105. It is their Vericat 72 tooth reversible ratchet. Right here. Again, these boxes are just kind of cool. They seem kind of nostalgic type of a deal, right? But you can see the product number there, little sign of the Vericat. You got the Heyco box. This box is in really good shape too. A lot of times with the Knipex ones, I think it's just because they're printed on recycled paper, but they'll sort of seem like real frail, you know, kind of like they got wet or something. A lot of the door boxes are pretty cool too, but you open it up, there's nothing fancy. This isn't like the Nipros treatment or anything along those lines, but it did get the ratchet here without damage. That is all that really matters. And here she is. So, black and green, if that's your color scheme, not only do you have Stahlwille and Wera, but you also have Heyco. Now, this is also a quick little comparison we can make. Stahlwille green is kind of like a true grass green. The Wera green, compared with these two, is almost like a bioluminescent green. Alright, it's really, really bright, almost more blue than anything. This is kind of like a old school forest green, kind of like a darker shade, if you will. The button, I believe, is the same hue. It's just kind of, since it's made out of plastic, it's going to be a little bit brighter. But coming up, as you can see, we've got a cool feature on this one. You've got the part number in there, you've got Heyco, you've got the branded handle, you've got a hanging hole. Flipping it over, we're also with the same Heyco branding. We've got chrome vanadium. Then right here you can see 72 tooth. That's where we'd have our little circlips to take apart. Check this out though. How many times do you have a color coordinated quick release, right? I thought that was a nice touch. It's typically just black, you know, or like silver, you know, metallic, depending on what it is. Since this is plastic, it appears to be most likely one piece that we're just articulating there. So again, if we had a socket on there, we would eject it just like so. Coming in, you can see the ball detent. Now, something else neat on this ratchet is the fact, I think you can see it fairly well, it's almost like a built-in thumb wheel, right? So if we get this in and we're trying to tighten something down quick, we can just come in. We don't have to ratchet, you know, a short distance. Especially, let's say we were putting valve covers on and we had this with an extension and we had the breather in place, or we had some external oil feed line and it was just blocking it, and we could just ratchet, you know, barely any for whatever reason. Then you can come in, once you have this in place, go to town and then kind of do your final blow like so. But feels decent. Again, I'm someone, I prefer bigger, bulkier items. I realize the advantage of having it be compact and smaller. Of course, you also don't want something huge with your quarter drive, so you run, you know, decrease the risk of breaking off your fasteners, right? But it's a pretty cool little ratchet, particularly for the price point we picked it up. I'll let you listen closely. Let's come in, switcher. The button itself appears to be like a cast one. It's raised up a little bit, but it's really not in an objectionable height, in part because of the thumb wheel here. So pretty nice touch. What I want to do now, I said we were going to make use of these. We're going to come right to the 10mm Craftsman. It's got a little play, more so than the Felo, but again, it's a total different brand there. We're going to come in now. We'll test their socket extension, which we should. I'd say that's a little tighter, nothing crazy. Quick release works well. We'll get our more recent Craftsman 9/16. So that's about as big as you would go, really, with the quarter stuff. Gives us a chance to spin it a little quicker and easier. Here's the quick release in action. Very smooth, very cool. Let's come in now. We got our 3/8 Wera socket, right? So we're going to line that up. I'd say that fits maybe a bit better than the Craftsman, but that kind of gives you an idea what the Take It Easy tool finder looks like. And again, once you sort of learn their colors, it actually is pretty beneficial. Last thing we want to do is come in and use this ultra long locking extension from Wera. So we're going to line that up. There we go. Again, I think this is a wobble. So it's always hard to remember. Again, if you were unfamiliar with this when we brought it in, you see this side is green right there by my index finger. This side is red. That's going to indicate when it's locked. So if I come in, slide this on, and then we press the button there, it's actually going to lock her into place. Now it's not going to come off. And if we had 3/8 hardware down there, this extension coupled with that, and it does have the handles there for you to spin, we could actually go to town on those tall valve covers. So with that said, and by the way, those are standard height 440 valve covers. They're not even the extra tall ones, so you can sometimes have something a little crazier than that. Interestingly enough, the one segment of that tool haul that was actually saved is something you never see, but I always do. And then, of course, I just add a font to it. But that's where I line everything up however I want it. And then I flip the camera on to record, and I say, video thumbnail. That part, yeah, it actually saved. So that's all I had left from this tool haul, but nonetheless, this is what we brought in. I got myself my own tack claw since I gave the first one to my mother. Picked up the T-handle, which I'm pretty excited about for reasons we've discussed. It'll also just be handy in general. If I like it, once I've actually gotten to use it a bit, I'll probably go in and see if I can get one in their 3/8 line. Eventually, I still do plan to populate the Felo Smart Handle system. Again, it's something I thought I would have done already, but it just hadn't lined up in terms of, sales or needs type of a thing. The Heyco Ratchet, that was just kind of a curiosity purchase. Coupling that with the fact it was tool of the day, that's just sort of something I can't say no to. If it was standard pricing at $44, it would not be here, but at tool of the day, when it's almost 50% off, gives me a reason to bring it in. One of my favorite wrenches, and this probably will surprise people, and I only have one, but I've used it quite a bit because it's a battery terminal disconnect for me. It's the Heyco Max line. I really like that, and the price point's ridiculous. I've asked KC Tool, I think twice, and it may be available in Europe, like a complete set of them. You can only get them, like piece by piece. And a set, you would think you would save money, and I'm not sure that they make the Max line in SAE sizes yet. If they did, and the prices on Heyco wrenches is like really good. I mean, it's almost to the point, you're like at Harbor Freight buying one of their premium lines. That's sort of my intro to Heyco. That's where we started going with stuff. Brought in a couple of other items, did not have one of their ratchets, wanted to try it. The Wera and Stahlwille flexible bit holders, these are going to be something that we're going to again have together real soon in a standalone video. Just to kind of compare and contrast initially price points, features, speculations, conjectures, all those things. And over time, of course, as I actually get to use them, we'll kind of see. Like I said, maybe this one flexes the best, but I tear it, like in week 2 of heavy use, and then maybe this one doesn't flex as well, but it lasts longer. Maybe it's the exact opposite of that. Those are going to be things we investigate later. But if you've used any of these items, let me know what you think of them, how they're treating you. Are you a fan of the tack claw? And, what would you use the tack claw for? Eliminate tacks, okay, just, no, we're not going to include that here. What other uses would you have for that? Would it be something, like my mom, you're going to go out and say, oh, we could get some weeds up with that. Is it going to be kind of like me, you're thinking of it as sort of like a miniature pry bar? Is it going to be something you think, oh, there's a perfect use for it, I know exactly what it is? Let me know on that. Similarly, if you use Heyco ratchets for whatever reason, for however long, let me know how you like them, how they compare to what else you like. Again, ultimately, the more information we get here, the more beneficial it is to people watching. But not a bad little tool haul. Again, we did have the sticker tool pack. I'm not going to go grab it. You've seen it multiple times. Ballistol, we're still, like I said, from time to time. If I have something come up, we'll interject it. That's why the mat's not here. I just cleaned this. It's really not grimy. I mean, it's put a little sheen on my fingers, but, it's not like it's oily. Or like a lotion doorknob after your girlfriend type of a deal. You can't even get out. Have to use your shirt. Always hate it when that happens. Nonetheless, it's almost like you're being held captive. Finally have a T-handle from Felo in addition to the smart blade. So pretty excited about everything we got in. I am now caught up on tool hauls, which is good. That means we can focus, on like kind of comparing, contrasting items, getting some testing underway perhaps. Of course, it all changes when something cool is available, which happened earlier this week, and I believe tomorrow, Friday, I've got something slated to be coming from KC Tool. I never imagined us overtaking German tool reviews, but I guess with the hiatus, it was bound to happen. And with that said, if you enjoy what I'm doing here, you enjoy seeing German tools be brought in, why people got them, their initial assessments, and really, really in-depth reviews with a lot of information, If you have not already checked out German tool reviews, make sure you do that. Again, I've been on YouTube a really long time, especially compared to most people doing tool stuff, but I was not doing KC tool hauls before that guy. And he's kind of, I'd found a KC tool, and as I'm trying to like, okay, is this real? You know, what's the deal? Am I going to get scammed? Those are the videos I found, and I was like, oh, you know, this looks safe. And the rest is history. So again, he kind of is on a bit of a hiatus right now, but if you were somehow oblivious to his existence, that will keep you occupied for quite some time. You might find some other stuff you want to bring in, or see some tests there that interest you. But like I said, that is it for now. I will quit rambling. It's a little after, it's about 9:30, so I'm gonna head in, make some tea, shower. Got to go to work tomorrow. Actually, it should be a fairly busy day, so hopefully I can get home with daylight and get out here, maybe do some more in the shop. But let me know again your thoughts on any of this. LoneStarMopars.com is the website. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, whichever you prefer, or all of them. All three, though, can be found at Lone Star Mopars. With that said, I've got a couple of things in the works, as well as some projects going on here in the shop. So I'll leave it at this. I hope and pray that I'm going to get inside tonight. I'm going to take the SD card, plug it into the computer, transfer the file to my external hard drive without moving it. I'm simply going to copy it. That way I have a backup and I don't have to come out here for a third time. Then I'm going to plug the external hard drive into the other computer, kind of the high-end one, and we're going to edit this video immediately. Right after I get done making tea, that's what I'm going to do. Then while it renders, I'll shower and I'll come out and hopefully be rewarded for my efforts. So, like I said, that's kind of why I don't see the original packaging with all these. I still have this though, just because this is take two, because the first one was completely gone, minus the video thumbnail. So with that said, also you'll see that thumbnail probably on the mat. That would be why, because I'd already done it. So there you go, backstory complete. I'm gonna quit rambling. I do hope you enjoyed. Hope you all have a great Saturday, and most importantly, I hope I will catch you back here next week for another video.